Right, it is 7 o'clock exactly. So thank you very much for coming into this quite different council meeting again. And for the purpose of the webcast, I will actually say that the reason why it is a bit different. We know very well that we have this new variant, Omicron, and that is spreading really very fast. So we decided that we couldn't have the meeting in Zoom because we need to have two items that we need to make a decision. And we cannot vote if we are transmit in Zoom. That is the government's regulations at the moment. I don't feel very comfortable, to be honest with you, so we will make it a good and quick meeting because we do need all to have a good Christmas. So I welcome everyone that joined us in Zoom. Of course, you're very welcome to participate, but you cannot vote at the end of the meeting. Right, we start straight away with the webcast introduction. Could I ask Gary, please?
Thank you, Chairman. The Chairman would like to remind everyone present that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing or other such use by third parties. It is likely that the recording cameras will capture your image, and this will result in the possibility that your image will become part of the broadcast. This may infringe your human and data protection rights, and if you wish to avoid this, you should speak to the webcasting officer. In addition, members, I'd like to provide some guidance for the meeting. Given the current COVID-19 situation and the spread of the new variant Omicron, tonight's council meeting is being held in the conference suite where we have taken the following additional measures. We are unable to provide desks for all councillors at this meeting as the space isn't large enough. The chairs have been arranged theatre style, side by side in rows with gaps to move around so members aren't facing each other. We politely request that members wear masks when accessing and exiting the building unless they have a valid reason not to, and only remove their mask whilst they are seated. Please enter via the sliding door under the link bridge or the rear door from the car park. We are unable to provide catering or any opportunity for social interaction after the meeting and request that members exit the conference suite as quickly as possible once the meeting is finished. As you will have noticed, only the elected members and a reduced number of officers are in attendance tonight. We have a number of officers who are on Zoom and the public will observe virtually. Please do not share pens, papers or other objects. We have a small number of individual wired microphones at the front here. Other members will be provided with a roving wireless microphone available on a boom so that the microphone doesn't need to be handled, or if handled will be sanitised by a member of staff afterwards. The Chairman may ask members when speaking to stand briefly to identify themselves and then speak from a seated position to reduce the potential spread of any particles, and additional hand sanitizer is available and positioned around entrances and exits. It's important we closely observe the government guidance as we wish to ensure the safety of all elected members in attendance, and these measures are essential for everyone's safety. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Yes, Chairman. We have apologies from Councillor Bedford, Councillor Joggia, Councillor Mitchell, Councillor Owen, Councillor Patel, Councillor Rackham, Councillor Roberts, Councillor Rolfe and Councillor Holly Whitbread.
Jackie, may I say about Councillor Jamie McIver?
Oh, yeah. Councillor McIver's give apologies for lateness.
Councillor Phillip?
Chairman, thank you. I got communication shortly before I left for this meeting from Councillor Jones, who is having technical problems at home to do with her electricity supply. She hopes to be on, but if she's not, her apologies.
Noted. Thank you very much.
Chair, may I just say that good evening, everyone. I'm on Zoom as Vice Chairman. So the sound is very, very, very low. Can we heighten the sound?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, I can hear you, but it's very soft.
Okay. I'll try my best, but yeah, we do have this problem, I'm afraid. I will try very hard to speak to the microphone as close
Yes,
as
that
possible.
seems very, very clear. Thank you, Chair.
Lovely, thank you. Okay. Declaration of interest. None. Okay, thank you. Item 4 minutes. Members to just approve as a correct record and sign the minutes of the meeting held on the 28th of October as attached. Thank you very much. Yes, Councillor Wixley? 1 second, please. You need to wait for the microphone.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I did actually have a couple of points on the minutes. One was a typing error. But,
Okay.
if I can just
Please
mention
do.
those. So on page 13, sorry, page 12, under item C, the 5th line down is reference to a covert. I think that should be cohort.
Okay.
So and the other item is on page 23. And this is probably an issue for Councillor Murray, actually, but at the bottom of page 23, item B, is reference to a Premier Nature Reserve. Actually, I think he was referring to the Roding Valley Meadows Nature Reserve, but was describing it as a Premier Nature Reserve. But I'm sure Councillor Murray can support what I've just said.
Councillor Murray, could you just, for the record, so we have the minutes right?
Sorry, need to stand up, don't I? So Councillor Murray speaking. Councillor Wixley's absolutely right. That was a descriptive description. The name of the reserve I was talking about was the Roding Valley Meadows Nature Reserve.
Fine, we will correct that. Thank you very much. Councillor Macready.
Thank you, Chairman. Just another typo. Under members' virtual attendance, I am actually C. Macready, not S. Macready. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Right, with these amendments, corrections, can we please approve then the minutes? Thank you very much. Right, we go straight, as I said before, I go straight to 2 items. Items number 11 and 14, but I'm taking item 14 first. Councillor Phillip, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll make this very brief. The Audit and Governance Committee considered appointment to the External Auditor, decided that we should remain with the National Procurement process, and we're asking for delegated authority to our Section 105 officer to give notice of our intention to opt into this. I'm happy to take questions if there are any.
Are there any questions, members? Councillor Heap.
It's not a question, but I don't think we should not do this because and to warn everybody that the fees will go up because they were undercharging, and we need to just be aware of that.
Chairman, thank you for that. Thank you for that, Councillor Heap. Yes, we know that the audit team need to be paid adequately for the amount of work they need to do, and the original procurement process probably didn't adequately work out how much work needs to be done, but I think our chances of spending less more, if that's a way of putting it, with this process than going on our own is the best one we can. So this is the best way to keep our costs down.
Right, anyone else? Right. On page 159, then, we have decisions. that the Council continues to participate in the national procurement process led by public sector audit appointments for the appointment of external auditors, and subject to the recommendation 1, what just read, delegated authority be granted to the Section 151 officer to formally give notice of the Council's intention to opt into PSAA procurement agreement. Decision, are we all in agreement? Thank you very much. Right, we go straight to item 11. Councillor Whitbread, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, this is the first time in nearly 20 years that this council has undertaken a boundary review. Last time we ended up by losing 1 seat and remaining with third elections. I think most members will have taken the opportunity to read the report before them this evening, and many were at, not as many as we would like, but many were at the presentation that we received last week on the potential for boundary reviews. The option before the council this evening is to stick with thirds, which has produced stable local government for Epping Forest over many years, or has the opportunity to switch to all-out elections. There are pros and cons to both. Personally, when I look at the pros, I still prefer thirds, even though that means we have to initially go to the Boundary Commission with a 3-seat walled arrangement. However, on a couple of occasions they have made it clear to us that we can make arguments for areas such as the Erodings and Hyonga in order to make variations to that. We have seen over the years that thirds works from a point of view of engaging the public in the election process. It is much more successful than all-out elections, and for the sake of stability for local government, it's more stable than all-out elections. All-out elections mean that you can have a very flexible makeup of the council's warding arrangements. However, whichever system that we choose this evening to proceed with, it has to be said that no change is not an option. Warding arrangements will change. We have to bear in mind that this is a boundary review that will take us up to 2028, by which time there will be adjustments in some of our communities. Some areas will see growth, some areas will see no growth, and that means there will be a shift of warding and a shift of where members will be sitting. So I'm sure everyone has taken the opportunity to fully brief themselves with the papers. I would personally be recommending this evening that we stick with thirds, and I would amend the recommendations accordingly. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you very much. I'll open it to the floor. Councillor Neville. Stephen Neville.
Thank you, Chairman. Coming to this decision, I'm aware that this is more finely balanced than I would have thought at the beginning. I've come down in favour, personally, of electing in thirds. And the reason I've come down in favour of that is mainly because it creates regular contact between, encourages regular contact between the electors and those that are elected. We are kept more on our toes as a result. We are responsive, and therefore I think because we're more responsive on a regular basis, it provides us to think more seriously about the decisions we make representing our residents on a regular basis. Having said that, there is the issue, of course, that staying with thirds, we're going to see boundaries changing, and depending on the size of the council, that, of course, as you see in the document, could be as low as 42 councillors compared to the current 58, maybe as high, maybe as into the early 50s. I think we're going to see a bit of a reduction, but that's not the decision we're making now. But that is something to think about, because, of course, that will see us in bigger wards than we currently are in. Either across the board, I would say there may be special cases made for certain rural areas, why that may not be so applicable, but it will create a situation where we'll have bigger wards, and that has to be thought about. But having said that, if we go for all outs, I think we will have to consult with the residents, and as I say, that's not as good a model as I think as keeping with the thirds, bearing in mind all the things I've said about how that makes a more responsive, that the sizes of our wards will change, and therefore the workload for individuals may grow as well as we see our populations grow and our wards grow. So I'll leave that there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Before I give the Councillor Pond, welcome, Councillor McIver. We noticed that you were going to be delayed anyway, but I need to ask you if you have any declaration of interest. Thank you very much. Okay, Councillor Pond.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I hope I've unmuted myself. I agree with Councillor Neville that this is a very finely balanced decision. We know, obviously, that election by thirds works. We've had election by thirds in Loughton since 1900, and it's always been there. It's always what we've known, and I do agree with him that knocking on those doors with monotonous frequency does keep you in touch with your voters. I, for one, would not reject out of hand the idea of whole council elections. But my main reason for that is as Councillor Neville said, the size of the sum of the resulting wards. I don't think for a moment that the Boundary Commission is going to make a special case of Epping Forest. They haven't in the past, or very rarely in the past. And if they reduce the number of councillors to, say, 45, which is what I imagine they will be aiming at, some of those wards will be enormous. Take, for instance, the rural country between the boundary with Chelmsford District and the south of the district. That's incomparable size with Councillor McIver's county division, less Ongar Town. So I would think we might have only 15 wards of 3 councillors each. And so that would imply, according to the figures I've been jotting down and discussing with others and in other authorities, a ward which would probably be called Epping Forest Rural East, which would stretch the whole way from Norton Mandeville in the north to the boundary between Abridge and Loughton in the south, less the town of Chipping Ongar. And I really think that is just too large a physical area to be covered. There is no community of interest between Lambourne and Norton Mandeville, for instance. So I think if we are determined to stick with thirds come what may, we may find ourselves with a really cumbersome ward structure. Madam Chairman, that's all I wanted to say for the moment, but if I might, I might respond to other things said by other members at a later stage.
Councillor Whitbread.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I think I just need to come back on that because actually last time the Boundary Commission did review Epping Forest in a special manner. In fact, at the time it took a decision only to reduce us by 1 seat because of the special circumstances around the rural areas in particular. So that is a fact, that is what happened. And we looked at a lower number at that time and the Boundary Commission said that lower number was too far. In fact, that's the debate to come, not the debate for this evening. The truth is that the wards have to be divisible by 3. So therefore, the number of councillors has to be divisible by 3, and that will, to a large extent, reflect in the numbers. I certainly don't think Councillor Pond is correct when he says that the Boundary Commission won't listen to any special arguments. I'm sure they will. But at the end of the day, we're not at that point yet of deciding on numbers and such, and it's the numbers that will eventually dictate the makeup of the wards. The one thing that is for clear here this evening is whichever system members choose to go to adopt, there will be a lot of changes, because we are looking, regardless, of at least a minimum of 2,000 electorate, and that's not population, that's electorate, per councillor as a minimum.
Thank you for that. Councillor Heap?
Thank you. Yes, my preference would be to stay with thirds. I think it improves democracy because there's always something current and there's always something that you can put forward before the electorate. It will mean changes, yeah, but let's be honest about this. We all volunteer for this, and if it means an increased workload, then that's what comes with the volunteering.
Thank you. Councillor Phillip?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I'm definitely in for thirds. It's important to call out some of the things that we need to make sure about this. Councillor Whitbread was quite right. Whatever we do, whether we go with thirds or whether we stay with all-out elections, all our boundaries will change naturally because of the change in the population and its distribution across the district, and also because of the number of councillors, of electors we need for each councillor. So with a reduction, and I personally don't think it will be quite as drastic as Councillor Pond was suggesting. I know Councillor Whitbread and I haven't come to a complete meeting of minds on what we both think on this one, but as he quite rightly pointed out, that is for another day. I think it's important to look at page 121 in the report because that calls out the other obligations for the Local Government Boundary Commission, so community of interest and identities. That's, I think, the route that we will take for our rural areas where they will become so large that it's impossible to have that community of interest. I think for a lot of our district, having 3-member wards is not a huge change from where we are at the moment. I'm thinking primarily of our built-up areas like Epping, Waltham Abbey, Chigwell, Loughton. We can move from 2-member to 3-member wards there quite easily. So it is really the rural areas that we'll be looking for exceptions. I don't think the physical size that Councillor Pond was suggesting in terms of East makes sense at all, because I think you're more likely to go across the top with that, even if you were bringing them together. But looking at it practically, I don't think that we should be looking to move to all-out elections. I think it gives us a degree of stability in the decisions that we make. As Councillor Zori pointed out, it brings us up in front of our electorate almost every year, which is very good for local democracy. I certainly don't think we need to do what we would have to do if we chose to move to all-out elections. If we were to move to all-out elections, we'd have to go out to consultation pretty well straight away to see whether there was wait for that and then bring it back. Chairman, in the current environment, I think a consultation is the last thing that our residents need for us to be doing at the moment. I think we've got a system that's been proved to work. I don't think it's going to have significantly more change than going for to the warding pattern than going for all out, and therefore I'm firmly in favour of continuing to elect in thirds.
Thank you very much. Councillor Janet Whitehouse.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I also support the election by thirds for the reasons that a lot of people have said already. We do understand that does mean 3-member wards, and there is the concern about the very large rural wards. But in the guidance that the Boundary Commission put out, and which is quoted in page 119, it does say that our council should seek to deliver a pattern of 3-member wards. It doesn't say we must deliver it. And as Councillor Phillips has just said, one of their criteria is reflecting community interests and identities and promoting effective and convenient local government. So I think if we try to do as many 3-member wards as we can, and put forward a really good reason why these massive rural wards just wouldn't work and wouldn't be appropriate, I think that would probably be acceptable. We just have to work really hard to make sure it does. And on page 122, there's the advantages of going to all-out elections and keeping by thirds. And one of the advantages of whole council is said to be PERDA. I think that's a bit of a misunderstanding, because PERDA really is public relations. It really doesn't stop the business of council going on. We still have meetings, we still make decisions, don't we? It's really just the public relations side, I think. But yes, I support the election by thirds. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Could I ask for John Whitehouse, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, like a couple of other members, I wanted to come back to the criteria that the Boundary Commission work by, and they are, as we've said, partly about quality of representation, they're about the identities and interests of local communities, and they're about the need to secure effective and convenient local government. And none of those trump the others. You know, they're three co-equal criteria which we as a council and the Boundary Commission as a statutory body need to balance and find the best solution which has regard to all of those three criteria. And as we've heard, you know, the guidance published by the Commission, I've got it in front of me, is very clear that wards of 3 members are the starting point for the Commission, and it will look at representations where it thinks, you know, where these affect the other criteria about local interests and communities. And it's worth bearing in mind, for example, that a warding pattern of 14 or 15 or 16 3-member wards and 3 or 6 1-member wards, to take into account local communities, would be divisible by 3, would meet the local interests criterion, and would, in my view, be a defendable position. And it's worth bearing in mind, unlike the Parliamentary Boundary Commission, it's not the Commission that draws up a scheme and we then comment on it. The onus is on the Council to draw up a proposal and justify it, and then that goes out to consultation, and the Commission looks at it, local people also have their chance to say on it. So it's up to the Council to come up with a scheme which meets the Boundary Commission's criteria and has regard to what the Council says. And certainly, you know, I can see ways of balancing that desire to have elections by thirds and respect local community. Because at the end of the day, what we need to think about is what's best for residents. And in my view, the Council's residents are best served by elections by thirds, because it keeps councillors more accountable, and it makes the council less remote. And both of those, I think, are desirable things. So I'll support the election by thirds tonight.
Thank you very much. Councillor Pranav Banot.
Thank you very much. I too support election by thirds and listened with interest to all the previous speakers. Dating back right through to 1997, the Labour Party put it in their manifesto to vote by thirds. If we look in April 2021 in Maidstone, the Liberal Democrats were very in favour of voting in thirds because it meant that there was better accountability. And I touch on 3 articles that I read today to support why I believe voting by thirds is the best approach. Number 1, because of active democracy, and number 2, for better politics. In a published study called The Local Government, the Debate About Election by Thirds, it said that it ensured that local political parties remained active and that it increased public interest in political activity. Increased politicisation of people might also produce better and more political activists. So that's one reason why I'm very much in favour. In a second study by Fenwick and Hutchinson, 2001, when talking about election by thirds, actually it helps opposition parties. It gives them a platform. It allows them to get ideas out there. So I think that can only be a good thing for residents across Epping Forest. And just touching on one of the advantages of whole council elections, it says increased voter turnout. Now that may be the case, but in a study by Rawlings and Thrasher that took place, actually they said that actually it made very little difference to voter turnout when elections took place every 4 years. So it's for those reasons I am very much in support of election by thirds.
Thank you very much. Councillors Jennings.
Just one of me, I'm afraid, Chairman. Thank you very much. Well, I'm afraid I'm going to go against the grain here. As many of you know, I've spent my life in local government, and in my time, I've worked only for unitary authorities, both in London boroughs and metropolitan boroughs over in England. And all those authorities were elected every 4 years in all-out elections. And in my experience, that basically, because it's only 4 years, really focused the mind of the majority party. In as much as that they were focused, it produced a much more dynamic atmosphere, because basically they knew at the end of that 4 years, they could be completely out of office, and it really got things shifting in those unitary authorities. So I'm afraid I'm completely in favour of the 4-year proposal. And I would say, basically, we do represent the people of Epping Forest, and I think they should be included in basically asking if they would like to transfer to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor MacGyver. Please wait for the microphone.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I can speak as a large rural county councillor, as Councillor Pond mentioned before, and I do understand the points that have been raised on that, and I think that's a nitty-gritty that perhaps later down the line could be discussed. In principle, I am supportive of the idea of 3-member wards, and I think there's particular opportunity there for some of our communities in our district that, as we look towards the future, will be growth areas for our district, and I think it provides an opportunity for workload to be shared amongst members, but more crucially for there to be increased contact with residents, which I think as councillors we are all in principle very supportive of. But I also talk as a newly elected councillor when I don't support the idea of all-out elections effectively, because as a new councillor, I can say that it's fantastic when you have other colleagues that have not just been re-elected or just elected. You're able to I think, become a more efficient and effective councillor sooner. So those are two particular points that I would like to make. And I think continuity is very important for residents. And to me, the idea of there being a large election where all councillors are focused on, election time, I think could possibly put our residents in a position where their councillors are more focused on election results than they are on day-to-day results for our residents, which is what we are here to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Through Zoom, Councillor Heap.
Thank you, Chairman. The last two councillors have raised some very interesting points. Hadn't really considered Councillor Jennings' points at all. There may be a lot of merit in that, but Councillor McIver's point is very, very good. Having joined in 2016, it was very, very useful to have people who have experience about how the process works. And relying on them for that experience is very, very, completely invaluable. But Councillor Jennings does make a very good point. It does make people more on point.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else, please? No? No, I have no one on Zoom. Right, in that case, on page 11, I'm sorry, Councillor Pond, I didn't see you, sorry.
I was a bit slow in putting my virtual hand up, Madam Chairman. I'm not opposed to voting in thirds. My point was not that we should continue to vote, that we should necessarily change. I do take the point that was made a few moments ago that perhaps we ought to consult. My only point was I do not think we should reject whole council elections out of hand. I know the timetable is difficult, but I think we should keep that option on the table in case we think that the Boundary Commission will force very large wards of non-congruent communities on us.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Whitbread.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Chairman, I think this has been a really good debate for the council, and some really constructive comments have been made. However, I do think we need to come to a decision. I do think Councillor Phillip made a very good point where he said, actually, would the public relish another consultation at the moment, having just gone through numerous ones? So I would like to move the recommendations this evening, and on recommendation 2, I'd like it to say that the council resolves to continue with elections by thirds as its election cycle.
Okay. Members, we go to vote. We need a seconder.
I'll second that, Chairman.
Thank you. Right. We go to vote. Now, I hope you do not mind. We do it as a named, so it is better for the officers to actually, it's not going to be recorded, it's going to be named. Okay. So we are actually deciding to, we take it first to continue with elections by third. So for, against, or abstentions, yes?
Councillor Avey.
For.
Councillor Bassett.
Councillor Bassett, for.
Councillor Barnott. For. Councillor Bolton. Councillor Brady. Councillor Brooks. Councillor Burrows. Councillor Durrell. Councillor Heather. Councillor Kane. Helen Kane.
Councillor Helen Kane, for.
Councillor Sam Kane. Councillor Kesker.
For.
Councillor Leppert. Councillor Lyon. Councillor Matthews. Councillor Macready. Councillor McIver. Councillor Morgan. Councillor Murray. Councillor Phillip.
Councillor Phillip, for.
Councillor Risby. Councillor Sartin. Councillor Sunger. Is Councillor Stocker here? No. Right. Councillor Vaz. Councillor Chris Whitbread. Councillor Janet Whitehouse. Councillor John Whitehouse. Councillor Williamson. And Councillor Wixley.
Councillor Kenska, you have your hand up.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Stalker. You, I thought you came in by Zoom.
Chair, I got missed out. I don't need the microphone, but let's reverse.
I'm sorry, but I had notification that you was attending by Zoom, so I'm sorry to have missed you out.
I'm here, look.
Yeah, I know, but I couldn't see you.
Councillor Stalk is for.
Thank you.
Chairman, as votes go, that had everybody reaching for the volume button.
Chairman, that is 27 for, 3 against and no abstentions.
Okay, then in this case, we actually resolve and we decide that the council will resolve to continue with elections by thirds. Okay, thank you very much. That is passed. Now, every other item in the agenda has been deferred. So the only remains for me to wish you a safe journey home and a very, very good Christmas with your families. Good night.
Thank you, Chairman.
Merry Christmas to you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman.